All right, and we're live. Peace, people. We're here with on Real Talk with Tehran Pool, back with Raza Rizvi, and we also have Ziryab Jamal. He was here with us last time, and we just want to conclude with the part two of the last video that we had done together. So, Raza, after the last episode, with all the publicity that you got from what you were saying on Real Talk with Tehran Pool. Is there anything that you want to clear up? Is there anything that maybe from on other channels, other places that the message you were trying to convey maybe got misrepresented or misinterpreted?
So, first of all, Assalamu alaikum to Tehran and Zaryab, man. Thanks for having me on again. Always a pleasure. Your channel's clearly got some barakah going on because last time it went kind of viral. But yeah, no, really good to be back on the channel. I appreciate you having me back. And yeah, no, honestly, man, in regards to the last video, obviously, uh, other channels got hold of it, and yeah, man, there was it was always like, I thought I would have been hidden on your channel, Teron, but unfortunately that wasn't going to be the case. It was always going to come out like that, but it's cool. um I wanted my views to be heard. It was not like I was trying to hide it. I done it on a public platform, so the views out there for everyone. As far as the way it was presented by the Sunnah discourse and stuff, obviously Abu Nur highlighted and took from it what um potentially he agreed with, or potentially what he wanted to discuss, which is his right to. Obviously, my interview, but the reason why he was fair is because he said that he specifically said that I've taken little bits out of it. You can watch the full interview, and he actually put the description, the link of your channel and the video in his description box. So he was fair in the issue, and he said, look, I don't endorse everything he said, but obviously the parts that he agreed with, or the parts he wanted to do kalam on, he put out. So I didn't feel like there was any misrepresentation, man. It was, he basically discussed what I said. Like, he only commented on what I said, and it was cool. And he said, if you want to get the whole picture, go watch it on Terran's channel. So it was cool, man. I have no issue with it.
Okay, cool, because that's the first thing that I wanted to get out the way. I
Awesome.
know with a lot of the reaction videos that are out here on the YouTube scene, they are chopped and screwed to where it twists what the person was trying to really convey, or their intention. So I just wanted to get that out the way for our audience. And I do remember from rewatching the Sunni discourse bit that he didn't say that you came over to Sunni Islam. But
Mm-hmm.
in the comment section on mine and his, people were under the impression that you were leaning toward Salafism.
Mm.
Would you like to clarify that?
Yeah, of course. Look, it's hard because, from the paradigm that most people are in, that paradigm that I used to be in, when you're in a sectarian paradigm, and I don't mean that in a necessarily negative way, but people are part of sects, right? So if they see someone stressing on a point that a certain sect deals with, they naturally think, oh, you're that now. So naturally, I might have emphasized on, a tawheed, only asking Allah for help, etc. Bid'ah. Naturally, these things, out of all the sects, who kind of, bangs on about this, who always draws that point? The Salafis do, right? So naturally, if I'm gonna now agree with them on that point, people are gonna say, oh, so therefore you're Salafi. But then you'll see me in other conversations agreeing with Shias on the Ahlul Bayt and, the dhulm and the oppression that happened to them, and kind of siding with them. So it's, as far as someone saying, he's become, in the same video, if someone says, oh, but he's agreed with something. So me agreeing with a certain thought process of a certain group of scholars that are Salafi or Sufi or Sunni or Shia, it just means that they got that right, man. And but to get on that level, to understand that point, you've got to take a step out of the sectarian thing. If you can't take a step out, you're always going to be like, oh, but you're saying that, so therefore you must be that. So the grouping thing doesn't like, I'm out of that grouping thing. It's not really going to work for me. But it's natural for people to do it. But yeah, like, if I say that Salafis got this right, it doesn't mean that necessarily I endorse everything else they say. They also take a lot of L's. Do you get my point? So every sector has its wins and its losses. Simple as that.
Yeah, no, you raised a really interesting, important point there, Raza. That point about our brains being pattern recognition devices. So when you talk about someone hearing you, and then, or yeah, someone listening to you and being like, oh, look, he's making these exact same points that this particular group makes. So that
Mm,
is just our way, is our brains looking for that pattern and then, you know, forcing like the label that we see with that pattern, like those topics you mentioned are usually discussed by Salafis. Oh, that must mean he's become a Salafi now. But as you said, there's other positions of the Salafis you don't agree with. So hopefully, maybe that's today or another day you can touch upon some of that
And
as
a good
well.
example of that is if someone had watched my video last time that I done with you lot, the full video. If people really want to know my thought process, listen to the scholars who have influenced me to find out what Raza's paradigm is. Who's the scholars that I mentioned? I mentioned Ustad Hassan Farhan Maliki, Hafidullah. I mentioned engineer Muhammad Ali Mirza of Pakistan, Hafidullah. I think I briefly mentioned Maulana Ishaq, Rahmatullah alayh. My point is, if you look at these scholars, and if you just read what they're on, you'll know that what does Ustad Farhan Maliki do so well? In the Sunni paradigm, he puts forward the case of the Ahlul Bayt. And people necessarily don't really like that he does that at times, or he's critical or anti-Muawiyah. So people are like, oh, so you're Shia. So they do the same thing with him. But he's on the other side. Do you get it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
So until we come out of this sect thing, it's really hot. But it takes time. Like, it took me a hot minute as well to kind of be like, bro, this. And Engineer's very good at that. Engineer in Pakistan, bro, he literally was like, bro, Deobandis got this right. Welvis are wrong in this. Al-Hadith are right in this. Shia are right. Like, he literally changed it up as well. So that's what I like, man. Like, the whole point of the deen and my whole mindset is, bro, haq is haq. The truth is bitter, bro. Truth has no friends, bro. It's a bitter reality. And like Ustad Farhan Maliki makes in his points, he goes, bro, own the truth. As in, the problem that sects fall into is they don't own the truth. They say, well, that's not really our forte, that's not really what we're strong in, so yeah, well, if they've got that, I've got this. No, own the truth so that it doesn't get used against you. If the world owned the Ahlul Bayt the way the Shias pushed their case forward, the Shias wouldn't have a case against the rest, because the Shias wouldn't be able to pinpoint the tragedies that happened to them, because the Sunni world and the non-Shi'i world would have been owning it and saying, bro, and would have been mentioning it themselves. So the Shia would have been like, bro, like, they're already accepting these points. That's it. We ain't got a point on them. If the world had accepted only asking Allah for help, only asking him for khalq, only asking him for rizq, and avoiding them kind of things, and only doing that, people would have been like, the Salafis would have been like, well, that was our strong forte. Now everyone else is doing it. So you lose that sectarian point, basically. I'm not saying Salafis do it for a sectarian point scoring. What I'm saying is that every sect has something they hold on to. But once you just basically say, bro, like, these lot are right here, man. I should be talking about this before they do, because they're right. Then everything starts breaking down, and everyone starts to understand each other, because every sect's got this. Every sect's proud. Even in the Quran, I mentioned in the previous Al-Islah lecture, that every sect is kind of proud of one thing that they have, and they kind of push on it. And every sect is weak in something. So if you just are able to identify and see who's right and what, and call it out as it is, life's a lot simpler, and you sleep a lot better, man.
Okay, and so I wonder, if everybody had that point of view moving forward, would there be any need to identify as one sect or another? You know, or are you of the position that even though you might see the truth in other positions that other sects hold, other schools of thought hold, it's still important to work from a certain position or a certain place, i.e., a sect, and you know, if you don't necessarily um, see everything in there as being 100%, you can still identify with that? Or do you see, because some people might, if you get what I'm saying, some people might feel like, okay, if you don't, and I think that goes back to, okay, well, if you have this position, then that means you're that because of that one position. If you get what I'm saying.
I fully, you know what it is? It's important that if you look at the world, every single person, every single sect, when there's a truth seeker, the Alul Haq, people of truth, is not potentially where you say one sect is Alul Haq. This is the paradigm that works as a nice kind of sectarian paradigm. Alul Haq are people in those sects from various sects who speak the truth. And in every sect, anyone who speaks the truth, or anyone who's critical of their sect, I would say speak the truth, but let's take it down a gear. Anyone who's even critical on certain things, even if you disagree with the person, see how the people's sect treats him. How is Ustad Farhan Maliki treated? He's in jail on death row. in Saudi. He's from a Sunni background, but he spent his life putting forward the case of Ahlul Bayt and defending from a Sunni paradigm, not Shi'i, not 12R, none of this. But you've got people within the Shia world. Ayatollah Muhammad, Sheikh Muhammad San Najafi, Dakku Sahib of Pakistan, Hafidullah, who's alive right now, Sayyid Fadullah Rahmatullah alayh. They were dismissed, mocked, slandered, cursed, whole works. Why? Because in their own paradigm, in their own sect, they basically spoke about Tawheed, not being against bid'ah, etc., etc. Challenge some of the things the sects have become established in. So anyone who within the sect speaks against it, they get written off. But going back to your point, Taron, is that it's important that those guys in the sects, because at the end of the day, bro, the sects are here in it, and they're probably here to stay in it. So what you need is someone within the sect sometimes to challenge and work the frame, because essentially, bro, I don't see a Sunni really getting too much fawaid from me. A Sunni will be like, yeah, bro, whatever. He's a Shia. I don't, you know, he's a Rafidi. Well, we'll talk about the Rafidism today, but that's what we're going to talk about today. But I'm saying, oh, you know, I don't really want to listen to the Raza. People have those mindsets, and essentially, people listen to the sect they're from. So if you can get critical thinkers that think outside the box in their own sect, it's a really positive note, bro, because that's the only way you're going to get people to change minds. So yeah, I'm all for it. You've got a sect, and you need to be realistic. Sects are here, and they're probably here to stay. But people need to work within the sects and find those truth seekers who are critical and not following the standard dogmatic narrative that every sect had established.
But would that not absolve the sect if they start becoming too liberal in where they pull ideas?
Yeah, well, obviously this is why those guys are scared that when these kind of guys start speaking about their sect, they're like, well, you know, if you open this, you're gonna open that, and this is essentially, bro, there's gonna be a group of Muslims that are gonna say, bro, these sects are all playing games. Like, essentially, for me, like, everyone's got their own narratives, and no one wants to listen to the other person, and everyone's rigid in certain things. Some people more upon batil than others, and eventually, if that happens, Taran, it happens where people start dissolving sects and saying, hold on, bro, let's go to the foundational point of the Quran, look at the established Sunnah, look at what happens. It essentially will happen. But bro, there's all the sects are always going to be powerful and stronger than potential movements that like speak against them. Do you get my point? They'll always be stronger.
Exactly. And you know what? To be fair, I know a lot of people who have the mindset that you just talked about, where, you know, I think these sects are playing games. I've talked to these people, and they still have a sense of gratitude for coming from that rigid, dogmatic point of view because of the structure it created for them, you know, that they still have today, which I can kind of see, because I was a lot more rigid in the beginning, and don't want to say I'm a little bit more loose now, but I'm definitely more questioning.
If
But
I met you like 3-4 years ago, was a hardcore 12 Rafidi versus Tehran, it would have been a mad one.
Yeah, man. Hey, I was watching you on Speaker's Corner, COE, like I was against you, man. And that's why it's so strange to talk to you today.
Allah curse. Finish this Rafidi.
You know, I think I was hoping your opponents finish you. Like, oh man, come with the stronger argument. But you know, I'm glad times change, man.
I don't blame you, bro. I don't blame you.
It's all good, man. I'm glad that humans are like that, to where we're not fixed like that, and we're able to change and come to this point to where we're able to laugh about it. But going back to your point, I do believe that we're going to move more in that direction. Again, I don't think sects will ever be dissolved totally, and I don't believe they need to. But more and more people are going to come to the conclusion, like, hey, I can be a little bit more liberal with where I'm taking views. How that's going to look in the future, I'm not going to say. It could be a Frankenstein. But but I know a lot more people who are like that.
But you know what it is, Aaron? A lot of people are scared to say it. You know, a lot of the guys that you know from every tabaka of the sect, they're scared to say it publicly, because the first people that will write them off and go against them will be the same sect members. That's why they're scared.
Exactly.
It comes down to a lot of khawf, cancel culture, slant. Bro, you got to be prepared for all that. Like, there's not one person, because essentially what you're doing is, when you're being critical of your own sect, the other sect's already not really feeling you. They're like, listen, you're not one of us. If you then become critical of your own sect, what happens is people are like, well, you're now kind of homeless. Do you get it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
And no
It's a problem, especially
homeless, bro. No one's everyone's like, bro, I'd rather live in a dirty house than no house.
Facts. Now, what were you gonna say, Zia?
especially in the Islamic world. Yeah, especially in the Islamic world, it's much more of a problem when you have these awqaf or these kind of religious establishments where you are funded to be a preacher, to be an imam, to be a khatib and stuff. And in those circumstances, like it's a matter of literally of whether or not you're going to have dinner, or whether or not you're going to be able to provide for yourself and
The
for your
man
family. If
controlling your
you're
food, bro.
employed,
Controlling your food.
yeah, no, it's real. That's how real it is. So when we look at community leaders, community preachers, or whatever, ultimately, if your daily bread is at the behest of your sect, you can't really go about
Boom.
criticizing your sect
Now
without
you're hitting the nail on the head.
without being at risk.
Now you're hitting the nail on the head. I always say, an engineer, half of the lies always mention this, that if your daily bread is linked with deen, 9 out of 10 times you cannot speak the truth. Illa mashallah. Apart from the exception to the rule. Generally, if your finances and your daily bread is linked to the sect you're from, then bro, don't expect the guy to say truth unless he's some mujahid.
That's like trying to imagine Abu Khadija criticizing the Queen.
Yeah, that's what. That's us. That's what. But that's what. Why do you think my last lecture, that was a good one. The last example, yeah, was that I spoke about the marja and all of that, bro. Like, this is the mindset that I'm trying to tell you, man. Like, let me give you a good example. The Shia, when they're critical of the Sunnis, they talk about the Sahaba. Inshallah, that's what we're going to discuss today. The Sahaba Ikram, right? The Shia want you to be critical on the Sahaba. No problem. I'm with them. Like, I'm not on the Sunni paradigm of no, hide things, don't talk about these things. No. Leave all that. Deen is deen, the Quran is the Quran, the Sunnah is the Sunnah. Let's talk about it. These things have to be resolved. You can't brush over it. But listen, you want them to be critical and discuss issues of the Sahaba and of the wives of the Prophet, even al-Mu'minin, Aisha, etc. But you man can't even be critical. If someone's critical of your marja, you have a heart attack.
Yeah, you can't have it both ways.
But Teron, bro, these are scholars of 21st century. As in, bro, like it's a lot more understandable when a Sunni is a bit more emotional about the Sahaba than a Shia today being emotional about a scholar of 21st century, bro. That's actually blatantly, I'm calling him out on clear batil, and you have an issue with me calling him out. But then you shouldn't have an issue when Sunni gets more defensive about the Sahaba then.
Yeah, because of their perceived elevated status.
So my point is like, bro, like, if you're going to be critical, do it properly. Don't do this. Oh yeah, let me open my mind and be critical on the Sahaba and the wives. When it comes to the marriage, I'll be like, no, we can't talk about this. This is, come on, bro. Like, really?
But yeah, you were saying about the Sahaba, or did you not want to jump to that right
Let's
away?
go. Yeah. Let's go. So as in regards to, yeah. So essentially, my last conversation, we discussed various things: bid'ah, shirk, ghulu, marja, taqlid, all of that. So alhamdulillah, we covered quite a lot of ground in the last show. Alhamdulillah. Today, I'm going to give a disclaimer in the beginning that there's going to be, as we've started, the niyyah and the intention of these conversations is not to upset anyone. It's not to disrespect anyone. It's to please our Lord, qurbatullah, meaning please our Lord and do it for the sake of God, to get nearness to our Lord. So therefore, things that I say, some things might be sweet for one sect, some things might be sour for one sect, and vice versa. It's going to keep happening. But the point is, it's just my effort at trying to reach my truth towards my Lord. So I want everyone, as a disclaimer, to understand that point and then listen to my conversation and be like, okay, well, I can, this is his research. He's going this way. But understand, it's not to trying to appease anyone or disrespect anyone or be biased. It really is. If I was still in that bias, I would have stayed a hardcore 12er, bro. Like, there's no reason for me to take this jihad that I'm doing. Like, I don't need the hate. I don't need all this, right? I can just carry on living my life. The only reason I do this is because naturally I was a public speaker. I had public discussions, I had public debates, I had public speeches, and a lot of the stuff now I don't agree with myself. So naturally, I need to elaborate and clear on those issues. And not only that, bro, Shias and Sunnis will benefit. Like if someone listens, they'll be like, okay, I can hear his point of view. Maybe some Shias might change, maybe some Sunnis might change, or at least it might get a thought process in them that starts working.
If I could stop you on that point, there were
Yeah.
actually a few Shias who reached out to me via a few different social media accounts I have, and we're trying to get in contact with you. I don't think they were trying to funk with you or anything like that. I don't think it was about any beef, but I think that they were like sincere in trying to see what led you to these conclusions, because they may be on the same track that you are. So, I definitely saw benefit coming. I definitely saw people. I'm aware of people who have benefited from our last conversation. Is basically what I'm trying to say.
Alhamdulillah, all success comes from Allah. Any mistakes are from me, and all success is from Allah. And you know what? I'll tell you something interesting. Now that you've said that, do you know how many Shias reached out to me privately and said, you know what, Raza, bro, we rate what you said, but we can't say it publicly, but we're fully with you. See what I mean, bro? Man, them are saying to me, bro, I like what you're saying. I fully agree. It's just I can't say it publicly.
I believe it.
So,
I believe it.
And this happens with many sects, bro. It's a sect, like this happens across the board.
Before you get into it properly, if I could just slide in here and say that the effect of a public speaker, as you said, someone who was involved in polemics, to really share their journey and share their changing views and their evolving views. At the end of the day, I think, especially with this topic, would it be fair to say for you that you haven't reached a conclusion as such, and your views are developing, they're growing, as you're coming across new information and as you're doing your own research, you're developing. And so, so if that's fair to say, then I think it's really powerful for someone who has been in polemics, has been a public speaker in that sense, to come out now and step away from that scene, step away from the polemical scene, and move towards a more critical approach. I think that is very rare, especially in this, that speaker's corner era, which has been popularized in recent years. For someone to come out like this, it is very rare. So I have to commend you on that. And yeah, definitely echo the sentiments that it is I'm sure it's been beneficial for people who are also taking that route of being critical and researching for themselves. So yeah.
No, respect for that, Zoria, man. That's enough love, man. And bro, you were ahead of the game years ago, man. You clocked this a long time ago. It took me a little while, but I got behind you still. But that's why you were always this calm brother, man. That's why, because you had figured this out a little while ago. So you just used to watch the show.
But it's the OGs that you mentioned. So when you were talking about Ustad Hassan Farhan al-Maliki, that type of self-critical approach, and he calls for a self-critical approach from all the traditions, whether it's Sunni, Shia, Ibadi, everyone needs to be self-critical and move away from the polemical scene. So the fact that you're exemplifying that, you're living it out through practice, I think it's a testament that it is possible. A lot of people who are in that scene probably can't imagine stepping away from their flock, the fame, the attention. But
yeah,
it's difficult. But that's the steep path, though, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Okay, so I do want to hear more about the polemic scene, but just so we don't get too far away from on the Sahaba.
No, I hear you. I'll tell you something though before I do this. Just keep in mind that the people that are truth seekers, if you want to be a real truth seeker, you need to basically don't just enjoy what someone from the opposing sect says about their own sect because they're being critical. Just keep in mind, what's your mindset towards your own critical thinkers? Meaning, example, I'll give you a good example. Yasser Qadhi is a good example. Yasser Qadhi, I see a lot of myself in him. Like Yasser Qadhi, bro, I have a lot of respect for him, just generally because, he was like a hardcore guy. Like he was essentially brought hardcore, orthodox Salafism kind of to the West, bro. He's like a pioneer in that issue. Like he translated the book. He knew it inside out, bro. And I'm not talking about the recent issue. I'm aware of that whole Quran issue, Quran Sharif issue, this and that. That's a mistake on whoever's part, whoever what happened, Allah Alim. I'm not even talking about that yet. I'm not even talking. What I'm trying to address is that, example, recently he changed his position on an issue of istighatha. I'm sure you're aware that he used to believe it was shirk to do istighatha, ghair Allah, and now he's gone to the position that it's haram. It's an opening to shirk, but it's haram. You lot aware?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Cool. So he's basically changed positions. Now, in the Salafi world, bro, that's just something that they don't believe in. They believe it's hard, this 100% shirk. When I was researching my issue, I looked into Sheikh Yasir Qadhi's argumentation. I looked into it. And remember, this guy was an expert in this field. One thing that I don't appreciate at all is that when someone is an expert in a field, if they now change an opinion, you straight away cancel them and say, oh, they're Johala, they never knew the subject in the first place, they're this, they're that. I can't stand it. You know, the cancel culture. That as soon as, bro, this guy is it's like an Ayatollah who is blatantly one of our senior scholars. The minute he goes against the majority position of the school, oh, well, he's a deviant, he's a jahil anyway. No, he's not a jahil. He was one of your top scholars. He's changed the position. You can disagree if you want. You can disagree strongly if you want, but don't go around saying he's from the Johala and he's this and he's that, because 2 days ago, he was your greatest scholar.
Yeah, I think we have something in our tradition with the Jewish scholar who converted to Islam, where he told the Prophet, I can't remember how exactly that it went, but they asked him a question, asked the Jews of Medina, I believe, like how about this rabbi, and they spoke good about him. And then when it came out that he converted to Islam, they spoke bad about him. Basically just totally encapsulating what you just said.
Man, them talk about taqleed. They'll say, oh, we believe in taqleed. You're like, oh, but Raza, you say an opinion, but Raza, have you studied for 30 years in the Hausa? No, I haven't. Oh, therefore, I can't listen to you, even though you're giving me proofs. Okay, fine. Ayatollah X said the same thing. Oh, well, he's a deviant anyway. So I'm like, so it's not about qualification, is it? So it's not about going to the Hausa and getting qualification. The fact is, I'm contradicting your opinion. So that's it. So going back to Yasir Qadhi before I move on, keep it quick and simple. He changed his position for istighatha to haram. Bro, he was attacked severely for it. Like, people disrespecting him, going crazy. Now, keep in mind, when I studied this opinion, the majority of the ummah, generally from my research, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I know, the majority opinion of the ummah is that it's haram generally. Shirk is not the majority opinion. So for me, when I researched into the issue, I looked at it, I ended up concluding that it's shirk. I didn't go, I looked at the istiqlal, I looked at the whole argument, and I was inclined towards it, but then in the end, I felt like the shirk point made more sense. My point is this. My point is, because he's now moved the opinion, he's getting attacked savagely for it. My point is, if you want to be objective and fair, then when someone from your own sect, or when he criticized Ibn Wahhab, recently he also criticized Ibn Wahhab very severely. He talked about pretty much what all non-Salafis know. Like, all us lot, we knew this time ago that there was we knew it time ago that man, there was atrocities in the region of Arabia. Their armies later came and massacred people. We've been banging about this for years, but now the expert on the issue has said it. Did the Sunnis and Salafis accept the argument from him? Forget the istighatha issue. Did they accept the historical argument from him, or did they write him off for it and say he's attacking? So my point is, my point. Every sect does it. And like I said in the beginning, something's going to be sweet, something's going to be sour. But I need to be real with myself. With all due respect to all my Muslim brothers, we need to be real and stop doing this. Because if you can't if you can't be real on your own side, then you don't have a right to be critical on another sect, because you're not real on your own sect. I always say this: if you want to teach a Shia something and say, listen, you man are going wrong here, but you're not able to see the clear wrong in your own thing, so then you don't have a right to say you're wrong here, bro. So the only person at the end that can then actually say you're wrong is the one that's calling it out and saying, bro, you're wrong here, simple. Otherwise, you can't do this. Oh, well, I'm not going to be the person who was an expert in the issue for so many years about Ibn Wahhab. Now he's changed his mind on this issue and he's clarified the viciousness of the attacks and the killings. Oh, he's wrong, and let's spend hours defending Ibn Wahhab and against Yasir Qadhi, he's a deviant, etc., etc. But then saying, oh well, and then the same person's being critical on the Shia. Bro, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You need to be fair, just. Allah tells us in the Quran, be just even with your enemies. That's it. That was my starting point. Now let's go. So in regards to the Sahaba Ikram, naturally, the 12 of you is a plethora in the sense of the Awam and Nas, because the problem a lot with the 12 school, more than others to an extent, but all sects suffer with this. But because of the issue of taqiyya and the issue of taqleed and scholarship, what happens is that you kind of create like this, the scholar kind of tabaqah sometimes have different views, and the awam and nas have different views. It happens with all sects, but I would think maybe because I've been brought up in a 12 circle, and that's how, and based on the issue of taqiyya, I feel like it happens, it's quite severe here because of this blind kind of taqleed, that we kind of hold a different position and the scholars in their books are holding different positions. So when it comes to the Sahaba, if you go to most 12ers, they don't, most 12ers will be like, they'll have issues with some Sahaba, i.e. Shaykhain, al-Mu'min Aisha, Muawiyah is obvious, etc., etc. There's no doubt about it. There's going to be issues. But most Shias will just be like I told you in my lot, I done discussion on Al-Islah. You know, we grew up like, yeah, man, that man, you know, they messed up or they done bad to Imam Ali here. But that was the end of it. There was not necessarily no la'an and takfir. And then there's obviously some 12ers that do la'an and takfir. So my point is that it's a plethora of views. So it's very important that don't brush all 12ers with the same brush, because there's many 12ers that are not into that whole la'an takfir thing. If you say to them, and it's not taqiyya, bro, some of them actually don't believe it. Like I never used to believe it when I was young. And many Shias never used to be like, no, I'm not really on all that la'an takfir. We just have an issue with them. We're not really like, yeah, we're not really into this whole, let's do la'an takfir on them. We're just saying they're wrong here. Simple. So
let me ask you then, how is it you went from that default positional setting of, you know, not having a negative view necessarily of the Sahaba, towards a polemical, let's say a polemical view towards
dogma.
the Sahaba? How did that process occur? And then how did you,
that happened in the guys. I'm not going to stress on it too much, Zaryab, only because I don't, in my recording on Al-Islah, I kind of clarified a lot of this, but I'm still going to mention a couple of points here. Dogma. Once I read my books of principal beliefs, and I realized, oh, like remember, because the whole point of Tashayyo is following the Ahlul Bayt, right? So once I realized that actually, according to my school, these are the statements of the Ahlul Bayt, and they said these things, I was like, then who cares what X Shia says or what X Marja says? Bro, I've got the Ahlul Bayt saying this. So that's it. I'm going to hold those views, or my dogma or my theology states that I should believe these things. If I want to be a proper Shia, let's do it properly. Why am I doing this? Oh, well, I don't agree with this, or that's just my own nafs speaking. Let me go to the books of theology and dogma. And that's sectarianism, basically, isn't it? You're just going towards your sect and saying, because the sect says it, because the scholars say it, because you've got narrations attributed to the imams, that's it, done. So you end up believing in it, right? So,
yeah, sure.
So based on so based on that, I went towards that, and so obviously my polemics phase, you know, became a proper, you know, Rafidi, whatever. A term back in the day. It's like the term N-word for black people. Is that you see the way black people then own? You see the way black people then own the term. They're like, bro, we own that term. We're gonna use it, but now you can't. You see, black people have flipped it, where they can use it, but you can't now. True.
Yeah, so you're saying
Okay, I
that
see the analogy. Yeah.
Yeah, so in a sense,
yeah,
the Rafidi, even though Sunnis still use it because you can't stop them, but 12 has basically started owning the term. The ones that I start, you know, influenced by people like, I don't know, Sheikh Yasser Habib, and the kind of guys that were, Sheikh Yasser Habib's a good example because he owned this theology. I'm not saying everything he says is necessarily orthodox 12 theology, like the stuff he says on Mu'min Aisha and stuff, but just generally the stuff he was coming out with. For loads of Shias, it was like, bro, what is he saying? Like I was like, bro, what is he saying? Like what most Shias were like, bro, we don't believe this stuff. You get it?
Let me ask another point of clarification. So, with the positions that you held from the books and the books of theology that you mentioned, were those positions, would you say, clearly in favor of that polemical view towards the Sahaba? And what I mean by that is, as compared to, let's say, the Alawi stance and the early kind of Ahlul Bayt position on the companions. because we could bring in the Zaydis at a point on the conversation. But what I want to give you a chance to expand upon is this idea of, you know, the polemical view towards the Sahaba within Shi'ism and the actual Alawi kind of lived experience and view towards the companions. So yeah, I just wanted to give you that point, that chance to kind of
it's tunnel vision, isn't it, bro? It's like, bro, like you go to a Salafi today and you say, what's your view on Yazid? He says, we don't praise, we don't curse. So it's like, okay, so what's your view? It's like, bro, that's it. Like, they don't give a view, but they give a view. You know those ones. So they're kind of keeping it. You go earlier down the line. That's not what the early scholars were saying about Yazid, bro. They weren't saying we don't praise and we don't curse. They were condemning him and saying we're free from him. Like, my point is, the sects have now chosen a view and made it the thing of the school. But if you trace it back, it's like, bro, this wasn't really the view back in the day. Like, it just sounds like this has now been diluted in sectarianism, and you're not calling out clear batil. Like, you can't even say Yazid's a dalim and call him a dalim and a fasik. Like, you can't even say he's a dalim now. Like, really? So my point is, in the same way as in the 12er thing, it was like, yeah, with the Sahaba Ikram, that view, tunnel vision, it's like, bro, this is 12rism, isn't it? For me, Zaydism, Sunnism is not important. Early history is not important. 12rism is important, isn't it, bro? 12rism, my sources, what I've got attributed to the Imams. At that time, Ilm Rajal didn't even play a part. It was just, oh, the Imam said it. Ilm Rajal wasn't even something that existed for us. We're just accepting it. And you're just saying, oh, well, and then there's a loose claim of tawatur. That's another issue that we need to deal with, probably another whole show on, that this claim of just saying something's tawatur. And then everyone's like, oh, okay, then obviously that's because when you were like, hold on, but that chain's weak though. They're like, yeah, it doesn't matter, it's tawatur, bro. It's like, oh, okay, cool, like, fine, cool, like, all right, that's a way of strong arming someone. Get it?
No, definitely, and I see it happen all the time. There's a few points that the Ibadis and Zaydis have.
There's no research is done on tawatur. When muhakkik scholars then actually research the issue and they say, you do realize this was all narrated by like 2 people, and most of the people in the chains are like liars and unknown people. Like, does that give you the whole point of tawatur is to give you a surety? Does that give you a surety? So my point is with the Sahaba. So then I obviously my whole like I said, we started owning the view Rafidi. You know, I'm like, bro, like that's us. Like, what's you say? I reject Abu Bakr Umar. Yeah, I do. Yeah. Oh, what you and just keep one thing in mind. This is a very good disclaimer. Me by personality, I was never someone who was really into the whole la'an culture. This is very important. So you would say, okay, so example, if I'm talking to a Sunni goes, back in the day when I was Orthodox 12er, if Sunni goes, oh, but you know, you do la'an on Abu Bakr Umar, or do you do la'an on Abu Bakr Umar, or the Sahaba, or al-Mu'minin Aisha? The reason why I would have, I don't know if I've had a conversation, but I think I did a couple times. The reason why I would have definitely said yes to it is based on the jawaiz, on the fact that I know in my school it's allowed. So regardless if I do it 10 times a day or I hardly do it, because I don't really do la'an. Even when it wasn't really, I never used to go around really doing la'an. Like, it wasn't, let me just turn this off one day. It wasn't something that I used to do. So my point is, the reason why I would affirm it is just to be consistent and not feel like this, I don't want the Sunni to feel like I'm lying to him, because remember, the whole, the thing of Taqiyya and Shias not telling their real beliefs is so played out that you're kind of forced to be you can't make one mistake and you got to be very technical. So it's like, yeah, you know, I do that, but or I do believe in it, even though I might not do it. So it was more just me basically taking the position of the school and trying to be consistent with my school rather than the practical Raza. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense.
So I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I wouldn't do that, bro. But the point is, I would have to affirm it based on the fact of I consider it allowed in my school. I'm not trying to oppose my school in it. Do you get it? That's that. So after I started looking into it, bro, you know, that I had my phase, alhamdulillah, Allah guided me, opened my eyes, thought outside the box, got into Rijal, started learning this and that. I started basically, first of all, one thing that always bothered me from back in the day. So first of all, when you applied Rijal on the texts, straight away, when you applied Rijal, a lot of the nonsense ran away. Like, a lot of the nonsense got cut out. You were basically, now with Rijal, you were struggling to produce Sahih Asanid on the Imams actually doing la'an on people like the Shaykhain or Umm al-Mu'minin Aisha. So I'm like, cool. I don't deny in my research there are a couple that a case can be made for. But generally, bro, the point is, if you're a school that's built on this and you're struggling to find it, something's wrong. Would you agree? If you're a
Yeah,
school,
definitely.
if you're
The
a school
interest
built on
and
this,
the
and
contrast,
you
the
know, I'm not
between the two positions. But yeah.
like I'm not denying that some exist. I'm just saying to you, as someone thinking outside the box, like, why are you struggling to find this? You should be able to throw 10 at me. Why is everyone struggling? I'm having to go to some advanced researchers to show me a couple. That's in my mind. I'm thinking, okay, you found it, fair enough, but like bit fishy over here. But all right, cool, no problem. Like, cool. Then what I'm doing is one of the main hates, and again, I'm going to just make a clarification. The stances that I'm presenting is not orthodox Twelvism. It's very important that my Shia brothers and sisters understand. If you want orthodox Twelvism, then you might as well switch the video off. Like, I'm not here to present orthodox Twelvism. Listen to the other brothers preaching that and do that. You get me? I'm not here to preach that. So whatever views I'm saying, don't say, oh, but that's not what Twelvism says. I know it's not what Twelvism states. I'm telling you my view now. Do you get it? So it's very important you keep that vision in mind. I'm not here to tell you, oh, you know, Raza's changing Twelvism. I'm not saying that. I'm saying hold your view if you want to hold it. I'm just telling you my view, and I'm accepting from the get-go. I'm not holding orthodox 12 views. Call me unorthodox. You get it?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Now that I've got that out of the way, Sayyid, one of the main issues of hate of the Sahaba, specifically, remember, Shia, it's not that old Sahaba stuff for like, it's just, you know, Shaykhain, Mu'min, Aisha, Muawiyah, obviously, and these kind of, it's a group, Talha, Zubair, maybe, the battles, basically, and those who took the Khilafah. It comes down to those. The issue, what I'm saying is that one of the biggest hate factors is the fact that we believe that Umar martyred Sayyidah Zahra. Bro, once you believe that Umar martyred and killed Sayyidah Zahra, bro, that's it. Like, I done a whole lecture on this back in the day. My video's still up, bro.
Can you explain exactly what that is?
Yeah, so what that is that there's a narrative in 12 texts which states that after the Prophet passes away, alayhi salatu wasalam, Umar and a group of men come to the house of Sayyidah Zahra, which is generally something that can be established via historical sources. I don't deny that. I still do believe that, by the way, that they did come outside the house, etc. And there's a little altercation that happens outside the house. I still believe that as well. Lekin, the 12ers don't stop there. Sunnis, some, you know, more dogmatic Sunnis try and deny the whole thing, but I don't think there's any reason to deny it. That's just them not being able to see past their theology, bro. It's anyone objective will be able to clock that, bro. Something happened outside the house. Like, you can't deny that they even came. But Ustad Farhan Maliki affirms the same, by the way. He says that I do believe they came outside the house, and he affirms the threat as well, by the way. But anyway, the point is that the Shia 12 theology continues. It then says that the altercation didn't stop outside the house. What happened was Umar bin Khattab and them lot then went inside the house, pushed the door open, hit the door and said, Zahra, astaghfirullah, hit her, and then she had to abort, her child got aborted like this, and eventually, based on those injuries, she died.
Mm. I've heard that before.
Once you believe that, bro, you tell me, like, when 12 scholars go around saying, oh, you know, don't hate, you know, for Sunnis, have nice unity, don't say nothing about the Sahaba. Bro, when I was at 12, when I was like hardcore Rafidi mode, I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about, bro? If we believe Umar done this to Sayyidah Zahra, why am I going to mince my words on the issue? Are you stupid?
Mm.
Bro, if I believe Umar done this to Sayyidah Zahra, bro, I'm going to hold Umar to account on it. I don't care if a Sunni gets upset over it. True?
Yeah, especially if you look at the gravity of the account or what had happened. You know?
Now, essentially what you're saying is believe in it, but just be quiet on it. That can't happen, bro. That can't happen. If you believe in it, let's talk about it. So when I believed in it, I talked about it. I was open about it. My point on that issue, that whole issue, Teron, is a doubtful issue, which I don't believe in, bro. I now have done ruju on that view. Like, I now have taken that view back, and basically I see it as slander on Umar. I just see it as a lie on him.
So, but you still basically believe something of that, I don't want to say of that nature happened, but something obviously happened.
Yeah, something that happened outside in historical sources. Not like there was a little argument, tension about Imam Ali giving bay'ah. They weren't happy about him being in the house. I believe in all of that. But going inside the house, astaghfirullah, hitting Sayyidah Zahra, her being martyred, all of that, bro, I do ruju and man, because I see that as basically a lie. It's a fabrication. This was made for us to hate Umar excessively. Did you get it?
Yeah, I mean, and it's a historical fact that not all of the Sahaba agreed with what transpired after
100%.
the Prophet's death concerning succession.
100%.
You know,
And
Bilal being one of them.
100%. Bilal radiallahu anhu. So my point is that these issues that you have, like, keep the issue to where it is. Don't go overboard, bro. My stance is this, bro. My stance is keep the issue where it stands. Don't exaggerate on it and don't decrease from it. Don't act like it never happened, like Sunnis do. Don't be like Shias and or some 12ers who exaggerate this and say Sayyid Fadullah questioned this narrative as well. You know that, right? Sayyid Fadullah, when he questioned the narrative, he was written off in the Shia world because he said this issue is a bit doubtful, or I have, it doesn't make sense or whatever. He just said one kalam like that. The 12 world went crazy on him. This is my point. And when I looked into this incident, bro, like, listen, we can leave that for another day. But suffice it to say, bro, from reliable sources, from reliable books with reliable chains, they can't prove this incident from their own sources, let alone Sunni sources. So
Right.
that's this issue. Do you get it?
Yeah. And generally, you're saying that in the books, that you referred to, it's very difficult to prove.
Yes.
In a multitude of narrations, all these positions that the 12 school is based around in terms of the companions.
So what's the just thing to do, bro? It's carry on attributing something to Umar that he didn't do, or say, bro, take the L on this issue. Do you get it?
Take the L.
take the bro. Taking the L is sour, but it's cool afterwards, man. You sleep better. Yeah. I always say, bro, I sleep, and I always give the example of the Matrix. You man, Matrix fans?
Oh yeah.
All right, bro.
They recorded parts of it where I'm from.
Matrix is subhanAllah. Matrix is my thing, bro. I love that, and my life is like the Matrix, and I'll tell you why. Tell them when they're outside the Matrix and they're in that nasty real world where machines have taken over and the world's nasty and humans are literally have no worth. But bro, the beauty of that is that it's real. Why do people want to come out the Matrix? Even though the Matrix is a lot better for them. But it's like, bro, I know the truth now. I rather live that life rather than live a fake life. True?
Yeah.
So for me, I rather live that life where you can say whatever you want. You can say this, you can say that. No one can like you. But bro, I don't care. Sunnis don't like me. It's not important to me. What's important is I can face my Lord and I sleep good in this world like that. It's a lot better, no?
Yep. No, totally.
That's my Matrix analogy there made. And yeah, don't consider me Neo or anything, but yeah, you get my point, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
I'm not the one.
When you talk about that development, that growth, evolution, whatever you want to call it, so how have you advanced, or what is your position today? How have you kind of grown and developed? Yeah.
One issue, Zariab, is that with the narrative on the attack of Sayyid Zahra, I don't believe in that. Naturally, when I stop believing in that, bro, now with Abu Bakr Umar, it's like, okay, there's an issue on Khilafah, issue on Fadak, okay, no problem. But bro, once that narrative goes on Sayyid Zahra being martyred by Umar, bro, a lot of things change because you're like, bro, like that was one of the keys, because bro, we get told that since we're young in our majalis, in our kind of, like, that's a known thing for us. So once you've taken that out, it's like, okay, let me think, okay, what else isn't true, and let me kind of now think outside the box. Your mind starts opening, and I guess essentially this is probably why the 12 scholarship doesn't let you open that door, because they know once you open these doors, bro, a lot of things open. Do you get it?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like I always say like some hardcore Sunnis do. Again, my brothers, sour and bitter, but you gotta hold this and understand it. They don't let you open up Yazid, because you open up Yazid, Muawiyah gets opened. So look.
And you actually see a more diverse opinions on Muawiyah and Yazid in early Islam than you do what.
Why if I cut you off and said you can't speak about Yazid, would you ever get to Muawiyah?
I know you definitely would get to Muawiyah.
So they cut you off before you can even, like, they just say, bro, don't even start that issue. Don't even start the talk on Sahaba. You can't even talk about Yazid. How about that? You get it? So now let's go back to 12ism. You can't even question this incident. Forget about anything else. Let's get it. You can't question the merger. You can't question this incident. Now, once that's done, I'm like, cool. One thing that I always used to research was Imam Ali's battles. They used to fascinate me. And now remember, I'm thinking outside the box. I'm thinking even outside Rijal. Rijal is a tool, and it's a tool that I advise all 12ers, all Sunnis use Rijal, but Rijal has its limitations and it's still a tool. You need to sometimes, if you want truth, truth is not attained by purely following Rijal. If I followed Rijal purely, I would still be in a version of Shiism that a lot of people are, but well, if you fully believe in Rijal, you shouldn't believe in this incident of the attack anyway. But my point is that Rijal has its limitations. You can still believe in certain things, and there's certain things that won't add up. So Rijal has its limitations. So let me give you an example. The issue of Imam Ali's wars. This is now where you need to look at Qara'in, contextual evidences. They call it contextual evidences. Imam Ali's battles against the Khawarij. He fought 3 battles in his lifetime after the Prophet ﷺ. He fought the Battle of Jamal, the Battle of the Camel against al-Mu'minin Aisha. He fought the Battle of Siffin against Muawiyah. Then he fought the Khawarij in Siffin. So yeah, sorry. Sorry, my bad. He fought the Khawarij in Nahrawan. Exactly, Al Nahrawan. 1 minute. Okay. Cool. Now, in these battles, have you ever heard the famous kalam? And it's a beautiful kalam. And obviously, when in my old days, I used to be like, yeah, this, I don't know. But it was used to bother, even back like 10 years ago, I used to be like, this is, because what generally, the 12 of you is those who fought against Imam Ali. Like, I don't want to say something that's going to put too many people in, like, just in a think position. But I'm saying, bro, just generally, in the 12th position, if you look at the books of like beliefs and the traditional kind of scholars, those who fought against Imam Ali are written off like they're not even considered Muslim. Did you get it?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So like that would be, if you look at Sheikh Saduq's Al-Ittaqad, Mufid's book on his commentary, you'll find it there. Like they're very clear cut about it, right? So what used to bother me used to be like, but Imam Ali seems to be. Imam Ali's not saying that. Like, okay, I hear we're saying that. I hear we might even have narrations attributed to later Imam saying that. But bro, I just don't see Imam Ali saying that or acting that. Like Imam Ali's treating them like Muslims. So Allah.
Yeah, no.
Imam Ali's not doing takfir, he's not doing la'an. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what's going on here?
Okay, and I was just gonna ask about is concerning Muawiyah. Can the same be said on his side? Like maybe it was later followers of his who started the propaganda campaign on Ali, or was this something that was happening in his lifetime, with his knowledge, and he sanctioned it?
Oh yeah, no, with Muawiyah and cursing of Imam Ali and stuff, that was definitely in his lifetime, by his knowledge, by his order.
Okay.
Yeah, like he was a key culprit in that. Do you get it? And I'll get into it. We can even do shows on that and stuff. My point
because I do see a bit of a more, I don't want to say reconciliatory, but it's like basically what you said. You don't see Ali saying what others say about Ali's enemies. I think
and this is very important because, bro, essentially, just remember this one thing: being a Shia. Why am I only asking Allah for help? Why have I changed my views? Everything I'm doing is for the sake of being a true Shia. In my heart and my manhaj is tashayyuh. Tashayyuh is a part of me. As in, tashayyuh is not something you lose. You don't lose tashayyuh. Like, you don't, unless you literally have, like, tashayyuh is beautiful. Rafidism and other things that came later, they are what we need to discuss. Tashayyuh in its essence is beautiful. And essentially, tashayyuh means following Imam Ali. And if following Imam Ali was asking Allah alone. He didn't do istighatha to anyone else. He asked Allah alone. And this is essentially why I went towards that issue. And obviously, the Quran is clear on the issue. The second issue is now those who fought Imam Ali. The famous statement about the Khawarij. What is it? You'll find this in many books. And what's the famous statement? It is when Imam Ali was asked about the Khawarij. What did he say? He said, alayhi salatu wasalam, alayhi salam. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, he was asked, are they, and I'm not saying it maybe necessarily in the right order, but this is the mafhum of the hadith. Are they munafiqs?
No, they're not.
No, they're not. Okay, very important. The Khawarij, Imam Ali is not calling them munafiqs, even though these men hate Imam Ali. True?
I wouldn't say they hated. I would say, I with
More
them,
religious. More
with
religious.
with 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 them, I would say
I
it
forgot.
was the later,
I
the
forgot. I forgot. I'm here on a with a
no, no,
Ibadi.
no. I looked into this. I looked into this because I don't feel no type of way about Ali, and I know
No,
some
no,
people
I hear
who
you.
know
Tell me
I'm.
about.
Yeah. But I was just saying that I think that might have been the strong feelings towards Ali might have been after with the later Khawarij or the ones
Makes,
after Al
makes
Narawan because of
no,
what happened at Al
and you know what?
Narawan.
This is exactly what this tradition is about, where you don't end up strawmanning other schools just because they're minorities. So it's very important, Teron.
Yeah,
You do say those points, is because Ibadis deserve the same level of decorum and fairness that we give other sects. Do you get it?
because let's not forget Ibn Abbas didn't agree with what Ali necessarily did. He didn't have his back on going to fight the Narawanis. And just from what I've read on the Ibadi side, the Narawanis couldn't understand why Ali would fight them.
Okay, I hear you.
Because
So
they elected their own imam after, or they elected their own caliph after that, because they felt it's and I could send you some books, man, if you're ever interested
say
in
no more. Say no
hearing
more.
what they have to say about that part
So
of
so
history.
100% I hate you. So what I'll say is that those people, let's look at it from the view of the mainstream Ummah and the Shia for a minute,
Yeah.
Tehran, because
Yeah,
this
no
is the way
problem, no
my mind
problem.
evolved. My
I
mind,
didn't mean to take you away from that. My bad.
yeah, it's cool. My mind evolved because the mainstream and the 12 view and the Shia view and the mainstream Sunni view is that those Al and Rawan are the Khawarij. That's the
Yeah,
mainstream view. Right?
straight up. Yeah,
Watch this. If they are the Khawarij and Imam Ali's asked, are they Munafiq? Imam Ali goes, no. Okay. I'm like, okay. Then he's asked, are they mushriks? Imam Ali goes, and actually, Imam Ali doesn't just say no. He goes, they ran away from nifaq.
yeah.
They ran away from that. They go, how are they mushriks? Imam Ali goes, no. They ran away from shirk. That's the whole issue. They've got issue with me because they think I done shirk when I done arbitration with Muawiyah. Did you get
Mm,
it?
yeah.
They ran away from that. So then the person goes, so then what are they? What are they? Imam Ali goes, Al-Qawm al-Bugha alayna. They are a nation who rebelled against us.
Yeah.
But Imam Ali doesn't do takfir on them.
And the Ibadis narrate hadith through Ali.
Of course they do. So
he also said don't forbid them from our mosques and don't forbid them from our faith.
there you go. There you
Basically,
go.
along with what you said as well.
There you go. Then I'm like, bro, I'm a Shia Imam Ali, right? So, bro, Imam Ali is treating them like Muslims. And, bro, let me ask you a question. Then my mind worked backwards. If Imam Ali, there's a narration of Abdullah bin Umar. There's a narration of Abdullah bin Umar, Umar bin Khattab's son. Bro, he would say you can pray behind he would say you can pray behind the Khawarij of that time that the Muslims accept as the Khawarij, Al and Erawan, all them, whatever they are. He would say you can pray behind them. So what's that telling you? Automatically, now I've killed two birds with one stone. First of all, they're not doing takfir on them. Agree?
Yeah. There was more. And that when I look back then, there was more. I think these different ideologies or schools interacted with each other more than what we give credence to,
100%,
because
100%.
the Ibadis, right? Hassan al-Basri. You know what I'm saying?
See what I
And
mean?
it seems like in that region of Kufa and Basra, there was a lot of interaction between different schools of thought, and they weren't necessarily funking like maybe we would assume they did. At least from my reading, that's what I took from it. There
Yeah.
was more interaction, transactions between different schools and stuff like that.
Imam Ali, he was asked about the people of Nehrawan.
But I think it's in the absence of a centralized authority, or in the absence of like a synod, or like an ecclesiastical kind of um, like a congregation. What I'm saying is, you had all these different groups. You had at one point you had Abdullah bin Zubayr in Mecca. You had the different Ibadi or proto-Ibadi groups, and you had you had very many, like you had a different types of. So whilst I agree, whilst there must have been exchange, there also wasn't, or there was an absence. There was no centralized authority that could like dictate who could and couldn't
And let's not
have
forget,
whatever particular view they've got.
the Umayyads weren't necessarily concerned with dictating religion on people, or from what I understand. So yeah, I definitely see that being the case, Ziryab. But yeah, go ahead, Raza. Didn't mean to
Let
go
me
off
land.
on
You
that.
know, this point is important. The narration specifically, that the narration about Imam Ali is in the Musannaf and Abi Shayba, and the Sanad say on that as well. When he was asked about the people of Nahrawan, are they mushrikeen? He goes, no, they fled from shirk. He goes, are they munafiqeen? He goes, no, they remember Allah. Mushriks only remember Allah a little bit. They remember Allah a lot. So he goes, then what are they? He goes, they are a nation who rebelled against us. Then you have the narration that Sahih Sanad from the Sunan al-Kubra of Imam Bayhaqi, where he mentions with Sanad Sahih that Abdullah bin Umar was narrated by Nafi. He narrates that Abdullah bin Umar would greet the Khasabiyah, which is the group of the people of that they attribute to Mukhtar, his group, and the Khawarij. He would basically greet them. And Abdullah bin Umar would say, whoever says, Hey Allah Salah, come to prayer, I will accept his invitation. And who says, hey, come to success, I will also reply to him. But if anyone says, fight the Muslims and brothers and take their money, I will deny. So basically, Abdullah bin Umar said, listen, when it comes to prayer, like, we'll pray with you. All the fighting stuff, you're saying fight Muslims, oppress, nah. When it comes to like that prayer stuff, Muslim stuff, I'm with you. What is the point from this? What I'm trying to show to you is that they're considering them Muslims. By the way, this destroys this concept of you can't pray behind al-bidah. By the way, this is another. I won't get onto that, but this is a food for thought for those who know. They will realize that, hold on, what's this? You can't pray behind al-bidah. Abdullah bin Umar saying you can pray behind the Khawarij. Anyway, yeah, but the point is, that's the fawaid I take from it. That's the fawaid I take from it. So know that this sect thing came later and said you can't pray behind X, Y, and Z. That's not what the Sahaba was saying. But anyway, the point is, when Imam Ali is not doing takfir on them, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Then we know that generally Imam Ali treated the people as Muslims after the battles. He didn't treat them like kuffar. And the famous Sunni jurist, by the way, subhanAllah, Imam Ali became an imam in the battles because all the fuqaha of the ummah, they took their rulings of how to deal with other Muslims who are bughat from Imam Ali, because previously to Imam Ali, it never happened where Muslims fight Muslims. So no one knew the laws. Many Sunni fuqaha, they took their laws, they extracted their laws of how to deal with Muslims in war from Imam Ali's amal. So I was like, cool. Then I'm like, hold on. If this is the case about Al Nahrawan, so how are we doing takfir on people like, or doing la'an and stuff like this on people like al-Mu'minin Aisha? How is the people of Jamal, who Imam Ali blatantly treated like Muslims, it's in every book of history, Imam Ali treated them like Muslims, and he was very lenient towards them. How are we doing takfir and la'an and saying this and that, when this is not the Alawi manhaj? Remember, the whole point today, and you can put that as a show, the Alawi path in the Sahaba. That's what I'm on. Someone wants to categorize me. What you want, Raza? I'm a follower of Imam. I'm a follower, obviously, I'm a follower of Allah and His Rasul. But after that, my Imam is Imam Ali, bro. He's my Imam. I take from him. Do you get it? What's his way? His way is, he's not doing takfir on these people. He's not even calling the Khawarij kuffar in our paradigm, who the Khawarij are. So let alone al-Mu'minin Aisha them lot. So I'm like, this doesn't add up, bro. He's not doing, and you know what's interesting, bro? Imam Ali, out of all those three wars, shall I tell you who he actually treats the harshest in all these three wars?
Who is that?
In terms of personality, who Imam Ali had the most issue with?
Who is that?
Muawiyah.
Oh yeah, of course. That should have been apparent. That should have been obvious.
And I'll tell you why. When it comes to that issue of Muawiyah, do you see Imam Ali saying Allahumma alayka on Aisha? There's a narration in the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba, Sanad Sahih. Imam Ali doesn't say Allahumma alayka, meaning basically Allah destroy, Allah deal with, punish, destroy Muawiyah and Bibi Aisha, al-Mu'minin Aisha and her Shia. Does he say that about her? No. Does he say Allah destroyed the Al-Nahrawan? No. Instead he says, bro, they're a nation who rebelled against us. They're not mushriks or munafiqs. But what he does say about Muawiyah, he says in his qunut, in his Fajr prayers, he would say, Ya Allah, Allahumma alayka on Muawiyah and his Shia. Allahumma alayka, Allah destroy Muawiyah and his Shia. Allah deal with Amr bin As and his Shia. So Imam Ali, you can see again the Alawi approach. You're gonna talk to me about Muawiyah, them lot, bro. Them lot are always gonna be finished people. Do you get it? Like there's no room for that. Like it's just these people are the ones. The mess that we're in today, bro, in the Ummah, a lot of it is on those people's heads. People like Muawiyah and that group has caused a lot of mess in the Ummah. Do you get it? There's no doubt about it. You with me?
And you know, the argument can be made that the Muawiyah transformed the rightly guided or rightly advised caliph into a monarchy.
Yeah, which is what the Prophet condemned in a sense, right?
Yeah, the Quran, from what I understand, doesn't speak positively about monarchs.
The Prophet, there's a reason why there's a reason why in the narration of Safina, when they talk about the Khulafa Rashidin, Muawiyah is part of the kings that came later, not the Khulafa Rashidin. There's a reason that he's separated from the Khulafa Rashidin. And actually, in that narration, in the Musannaf, if I'm not mistaken, the narrator Safina, he mentions that actually he's the first king. It's not a good thing, bro. Do you get it? It's not.
Yeah,
it's not look, but yeah, like obviously, people that are going to defend till the end based on sectarianism are going to defend till the end. But the point is, the one thing that you need to know is the minute you defend these things from a Sunni paradigm, you're only weakening your own case because you're now doing an injustice to the Khulafa Rashidin. Do you get it?
No, I totally get it.
Until you can do tamiz of who the Khulafa Rashidin are and who those came later are and how different they are. That's why the Prophet said the Khulafa Rashidin, according to their own Sunni sources, are 30 years. They end on Imam Hassan. There's a reason that whether you believe in that narration or not, the point is they never included Muawiyah in that Khulafa Rashidin. He's not part of that. Rather, he's part of the Prophet ﷺ. After that, there will be a nail, like a biting maluk. It's not a good thing. Did you get it?
Yeah, no, and I maybe this might have just been propaganda for the Abbasids, but I read something from al-Jahiz where, you know, he said Muawiyah was off the Sunnah. If you look at the way that he operated, wasn't in the way of the Prophet. So, you know, but that was from al-Jahiz, who was right, who did kind of write for the Abbasids.
Abbasids. Yeah, look, the thing with me, bro.
But at the very least, as Sayyid Saqaf said, Muawiyah, I mean, he's made this point obviously based on the hadith of Ammar, which is that the Muawiyah at the very least is a caller towards the hellfire, right? And the leader of the aggressive party, Fi'atul Baghiyah. That's the very least you can say about. So this tamyiz you're talking about differentiation, distinction.
You know how bad it gets? That Fi'atul Baghiyah, when they find out that Ammar's been killed in that battle, and either Amr bin As or his son, one of them, they go and they say, bro, like Ammar's been killed. And Muawiyah's like, so they're like, the Prophet ﷺ said Ammar will be killed by a Baghi group. Do you know what Muawiyah says? Do you know what his reply to the hadith is? His reply to that hadith is like, well, we never killed him. Imam Ali brought him here. He killed him.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Bro, that's
I read in hadith. I read in a Ibadi literature a hadith from Musa al-Ashari where he called Muawiyah the khawarij. I'll try to find it later.
Interesting.
But
so
it is.
So even that hadith when it's presented to Muawiyah, he just like, yeah, that's to do with Imam Ali. And like look at like subhanallah, bro. Like the kalam goes against you and you say, and in some books of history, do you know what Imam Ali replies to that? He says, if I'm the killer of Ammar because I brought him here, that means the Prophet's the killer of Hamza because he brought him to Uhud. Subhanallah. But anyway, my point is that let's go back to the topic. Imam Ali is doing Allahumma alayka on Muawiyah. He's not doing Allahumma alayka on al-Mu'minin Aisha, bro. He's not doing Allahumma alayka even on Ali Nehrawan. So, bro, these are the guys that fought him, right? And he's keeping it civil. There's a beautiful khutbah in Najm al-Balagha that summarizes Imam Ali's opinion on the Battle of Jamal, where he says, listen, like if al-Mu'minin Aisha had done this on anyone else, if it was anyone else, she would have not done this against him. But because it's me, she's done it on him. Because, you know, there was in narrations, you'll always find she had issues with Imam Ali generally. You'll find that in narrations. So Imam Ali draws towards that. But then he says, listen, but her case now, what's happened is happened, and her case is with Allah, but her original respect is kept. So he goes, listen, your respect will be kept but your case is with Allah. Like what happens now is between you and Allah, but that's it. Like that's where Imam Ali stops with al-Mu'minin Aisha. He doesn't go beyond that. He's not doing la'an, he's not doing takfir, and he didn't do it later on either, bro. So my point is bro, is that if you want to follow Imam Ali, then follow him. If you want to then say, I'm a Shia, but then add other stuff, because that's the thing. The Shiism today is not only following Imam Ali, it's a lot of other factors mixed into it. Do you get my point?
No, totally. I mean, you can say the same with a lot of schools or sects, to be fair.
So many sects, 100%. So every sect has this problem. Obviously, I'm highlighting my issue with the Sahaba. So what I'm saying is that's why when it comes to Mu'minin Aisha, when it comes to, yeah, definitely like that kind of stuff, I was like, hold on, bro. Like, I need to reconsider my stance here because, bro, I'm doing an injustice. Then, bro, I'm looking, I can't even find, even from the later, from even attributed narrations to the Imams, that the Imams have done lot on her or anything like that. You can't, like, I still had trouble finding that. If someone pulls out one or two random ones, it's still not going to be enough to convince me because I'm going to be like, bro, why are you struggling? Like, I still haven't found anything solid on the issue. My point is, I'm just like, bro, Imam Ali is not on this. So I'm a Shia of Imam Ali. I'm going to follow that. I can't be, we need to follow and we need to be safe at the same time, bro. We need to be cautious on these issues. Like, you can't just, takfir is not a small issue, bro. Takfir is a big issue. Do you get it? I know.
Yeah, some say it's an act of violence, to be fair.
But you know what's interesting? I'll tell you something very interesting, which is a good qara'in. If all those texts that we have on the Prophet ﷺ that mentions about the khawarij, and the Prophet said X, Y, Z about them, and they are hardcore condemnation in the books of Al-Sunnah against the khawarij. Do we agree? They're hardcore against them, true?
True.
Watch this. Imam Ali still doesn't do takfir on them.
But then that should make you wonder about those narrations where
I know, yeah, I'm already there. I'm already there. I know exactly where you are. I'm already there, but no problem. My point is, even if I was to reconcile the two, my point is, bro, the Alawi stance is not a stance of takfir.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds like from what you're saying.
If the Alawi stance is not a stance of takfir, I'm like, cool. So what's his stance as Muawiyah? Allahumma alayka. I hold the same stance. What's his stance on al-Mu'minin Aisha? I hold the same stance. So then I went back to the Shaykh. Then I was like, okay, let me go back forward more. So let me go rewind more. I went to the Shaykhain. By the way, when it comes to Uthman, Talha, Zubair and stuff, again, with Talha, Zubair and stuff, there's narrations that I've seen historically that they might have done ruju in their battle or they left it. Talha, Zubair, there's narrations that's attributed. So you've got kind of like a case of there's some sort of ruju. That's why Sunni scholars have always kept al-Jamal different to al-Safin. You'll notice they keep them different. And it's not because they're just trying to be inconsistent. There's a bit more nuance to it. It's because the truth is Imam Ali dealt with them differently. And on top of that, there is some dalail and there is some proofs of ruju from al-Jamal, like the narration of al-Mu'minin Aisha, which she mentions in various references. Once that comes, the most explicit one, I think, is in the Musannaf of Imam Shayba. I'm just paraphrasing, I might be wrong, but from memory, which is basically says that don't bury me next to the Prophet. Like this mentioned in Bukhari Muslim, but Musannaf is more explicit. Don't bury me next to the Prophet, because I did something after him. In Musannaf is basically the word bid'ah. Like I done something after him. I done an innovation. Did you get it?
Yeah, I've heard this, and I just one question about the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba. Are you getting this from an Arabic translation? Is there an English translation out of that?
No, there isn't. G. I just all Arabic, Urdu. I get them translated.
Hey, because that's the one, the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba.
That book is that book, Subhanallah, is a masterpiece. That's why.
I know, man, and it's only has it only in recent times been? Has it always been known about? Because and why is it not a part of the canonical six? I mean,
but he was a Imam Shayba was the Ustad of Bukhari Muslim, and he mentions a lot of critical hadith in there, man. And yeah, man, that book highlights a lot of truths, man. It's got a lot of truths in that book, man.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot more people quote from it, Western scholars, traditional scholars. And I'm just very curious about it. And I'm hearing you quote a lot from it as well. So
yeah. So with Bibi Aisha, Aisha, you see that basically she's saying, don't bury me next to the Prophet because I've done something after him. Like she's saying, look, like I've done something. I've done an innovation, really. because the narration of the Khulafa in the Sunni paradigm, even their narration, it's obviously to fight against the Khulafa Rashidin and Imam Ali is a bid'ah, it's haram. Like that's clear cut. There's no two ways about it. What else is it? When the Prophet in the siyaq of Sunni narrations where it mentions that Khilafah after follow the Khulafa Rashidin after me, and every bid'ah is a misguidance. In that same hadith, it mentions that follow the Khulafa Rashidin after me and the rightly guided ones, and then the Prophet says, and every and kulla bid'ah dalala. That's when he mentions that narration. That every, you know, the one that you keep hearing, every bid'ah is a misguidance. It's in that same narration where the Prophet says, follow the Khulafa Rashidin. So what's the first bid'ah? To go against the Khulafa Rashidin, no?
Exactly, it should be.
Exactly. So that's why Mu'mineen, she says, like, I done something after the Prophet, don't bury me next to him. And so that's what you call a type of ruju and tawbah. You have to be fair on the issue. That's a type of ruju and tawbah on the issue. You get it?
Yeah.
So that's why they're treated differently, bro. There's a regret. There's something there. Do you get it? There's a regret. There's something there. With Muawiyah and Ali Safin, like, there's no regret. It just gets worse and worse. Did you get it?
No, definitely.
Yeah,
And you can
we're talking about Muawiyah, Abu Sufyan,
and that's why
and the generals involved. And, Ahmad ibn
again,
al-As and so on.
another beautiful narration for Tehran from the Musannaf is Imam Ali himself about Muawiyah. He says, like, you know, the people of, again, it's about you can do a ta'wil of it, but generally he says, look, the people of people of Safin, like, they'll be in heaven, and the people in Safin will be in heaven, and so will my soldiers. Some scholars have interpreted it to mean Imam Ali says, I hope. He doesn't, I mean, the narration doesn't say I hope, but the ta'wil that they say is that Imam Ali obviously can't be certain they're going to heaven, but he's like, I hope that the common soldier of my army and Muawiyah's army is in heaven, because they're just common soldiers, right?
Yeah, you know, they're just.
But then what's how the narration finishes? And then he goes, but then the end case will be between me and Muawiyah. Like, Imam Ali's not leaving him, bro. Imam Ali's not leaving him. He's like, bro, at the end, Allah will decide between us. Do you get it? Our case is gonna be with, he's gonna judge between us. So my point is that you're seeing the Alawi stance. So you're seeing the clear Alawi stance. Now, then I went back. Then I was like, okay, cool. So straight away, my stance on Mu'minin Aisha and stuff like that. And I'm gonna, inshallah, if I can find that narration. Yeah, actually, I'll quote that at another time. Maybe I'll quote at the end. Then basically, I went towards the issue of Shaykhain. I'm like, bro, with the Shaykhain, that you don't have the issue on Umar martyring Sayyid Zahra no more, right? That's gone now. So how generally, historically, if you were to look at the books of history, how's Imam Ali's general relation with the Shaykhain? If you read it historically, how's the general relation later? It's basically on good terms. Historically, it's very hard to argue bad terms with Imam Ali and the Shaykhain apart from the beginning period. After that, historically, it's generally good terms, bro. You do realize that, right?
No, yeah, that's kind of the sense that I get.
You find the problem in the beginning. That's all there, no problem. But later on, Imam Ali is cool with them. So my point is, bro, if you're going to be a Shia Imam Ali, then you'll be cool with them as well. You don't want to say they're the best. You don't want to praise them. You don't want to say they're amazing. No problem. Don't do any of that. But what I'm saying is, bro, come to levels and be like, bro, what level was Imam Ali on with them? Like, be just on issues. Imam Ali wasn't saying them munafiqeen, cursing them, saying this. He wasn't doing that, bro. He wasn't doing that. He kept it on civil terms with them. He helped them in their time of Khilafah, and he kept it civil. So you should be civil. So my point is very simple. Follow the Alawi approach. So that's why my whole stance then changed, because I was like, okay, yeah. And that doesn't deny, by the way, Sayyidah Zahra's issue, Salamu alayha, with Abu Bakr and Fadak. I don't deny that. I'm still with Sayyidah Zahra, with Imam Ali on Fadak. I'm with all of that. But what I'm saying to you is that Imam Ali didn't make this into an issue and went against them on it. True?
No, he did not.
So I'm saying you can have the issue and say, I believe that Abu Bakr should have given to Sayyidah Zahra. I say the same. But that doesn't mean that based on that, now I say they're kuffar, munafiqeen, this, that. No, because that's not what Imam Ali was doing. Imam Ali kept it civil and cool with them. And he even helped them. So my point is, understand. So if you want to follow the Alawi approach, following the Alawi approach is not easy, because essentially you're not siding with any sect. Sunnis over there trying to defend Muawiyah, Shia's here blaming everything on Abu Bakr, Umar. Both are going a bit wrong here. Do you get it? So try and follow the Alawi approaches. Just try and follow the historical Imam Ali approach, and you'll realize that he's keeping it cool. So then I realized that, man, like, my whole stance back in the day, so that's why it's important. on the Sahaba specifically, again, this is again for the public and for everyone. On the Sahaba generally, alhamdulillah, I never believed that stuff that after the Prophet all the Sahaba became apostates and only 3 remained Muslim. I never believed that kind of stuff ever, anyway, regardless, even in my hardcore days, alhamdulillah, I never believed that. My point is issues of la'an, takfir, on the general Sahaba, Muhajir, Ansar, etc. I'm free from that. So I'm not a Rafidi. Like, I am not a Rafidi, bro. I'm a Shia, but I'm not a Rafidi. I don't want that title. I don't have nothing to do with that title. I'm not proud of that title. I don't want that title. When it comes to al-Mu'minin Aisha, her cases with Allah, I do tawakkuf on the issue. Her case with Allah, bro. She fought the battle. You can see a type of ruju towards the end of her life. So why am I judging what's going to happen, bro? Like, I'm not Allah, bro. Why am I judging what's going to happen? Neither am I interested in doing la'an and takfir, because that's not Imam Ali's way. Neither is his way on the Shaykhain either. So that's what I do on this issue. I do Tawbah Ruju on that issue completely. Like, my old views on those points, and are gone. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and I think that was what really caught on with a lot of people, is that you kind of turned back from that position. And excuse me for a second. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting, and it's good you wrapped up there. So, with that being said, I think there can be, future shows where because it's not that simple, where you kind of discuss and unpack the issue of the Shaykhain not accepting the quote unquote wilaya of Imam Ali, and what that entails for you now. What does that mean for you now? Because if we take a snapshot from back in when you were in your let's say polemical state, you would have viewed Imam's leadership or wilaya as being a particular thing, which is obviously going to be defined by the school, right? But it will be interesting if your views have developed at all since then, because if they haven't, for example, that has the connotation that that rejection, quote unquote, by the Shaykhain would mean would have certain implications. You just see what I'm saying? I don't know. There's a lot there that you can discuss maybe in another
that's like
time.
a whole unpacking. Yeah, that has a whole unpacking behind it. But my forefront and my Imam on the issue is Imam Ali, that's there at the moment. While he's there, Imam Ali keeps it civil on a level, keeps it respectful. He helps and supports them. And yeah, like, if you're going to be a Shia Imam Ali, man, you need to hold these points, man. You can't just like it's
yeah.
You need to, being a real Shia Imam Ali is not easy, bro. It's not easy to be a real Shia, because, bro, no one's going to essentially like your views. But, bro, like, that's why I said Shia in itself is beautiful. It's about supporting Imam Ali, supporting the Ahlul Bayt, standing with them against the tragedies that happened to them. And essentially, like you mentioned earlier, the Zaydis do this quite well. They stand with the Ahlul Bayt, and they don't go to excesses. They have a nice moderate, and that's why if you notice, the Zaydis don't call themselves Rafidi. They don't say they're Rafidi.
No, they don't at all. And I've actually found Zaydis to be. I'm in a Zaydi Facebook group, and I have a few Zaydi friends. And I find a lot of commonality between the Zaydism and Ibadiyah, and it seems like they're very friendly.
Yeah. The Sunnis don't call the Zaydis Rafidis either. Neither do the Zaydis call themselves Rafidi. In fact, they refute Rafidi. So my point is that if you ask their approach is, listen, like how Imam Ali was, that's how we're going to be. So that's beautiful, because essentially it's all about following Imam Ali, man. Now, obviously, someone might say, well, we don't believe Imam Ali done this. He had a different narrative. Bro, I'm just going by general history, man. If you want to have your own narrative on history, that's fine. But general history, you cannot show a real issue with Shaykhain and Imam Ali. Yes, with Uthman you can. And that's why I myself am critical of many things Uthman done, because Imam Ali was critical. Did you get it? Many of the early Shia were critical on him. True.
So, and I think looking at his history, it's only fair to
it's
be.
Only fair, yes. As in this, Ammar bin Yasir was critical, Abu Dhar was critical, Imam Ali was critical, and they all advised him. Shaykhain is a different story. So give everyone their dues and be fair on the issue. But this is why I had. And
it's not to be critical, and just because I don't want to leave it on that, it's not to be critical in order just to run them through the mud for fun, but it's to learn from the mistakes that they made moving forward. If any of us are in a similar position of power, and not even as a caliph or anything, but even if you're managing something, you know what I'm saying? I think his mistake was he became a little is nepotistic, you know, where he was installing family members over, you know, people who probably were more capable. So, you know, I still think that there's something to learn from it. And the issue isn't to be critical of them just for critique's sake, but actually to learn something from their mistakes as well as learn something from the good they've done.
I want to, yeah, no, 100%, man. As in, look, bro, we're not, and this is a very important message here at the essence. The essence towards the Sahaba Ikram, subhanAllah, good you reminded me, the essence towards the Sahaba Ikram should be wala. The essence, the default should be like hub and affection towards them, not bara. The essence shouldn't be anti. Do you get it? The default.
Definitely.
Default on the Sahaba should be wala, not bara, bro. Now, when there's exceptions to the rule based on the Sunnis making their definition of anyone who saw him and these kind of definitions putting the tulaka inside and confusing issues, that's their own problem. But I'm saying generally, the essence towards the Sahaba should be wala, not bara, bro.
Of course. And you know, I really would like to get into the topic of the Sahaba and who they were, how many of them, who can we trust from, you know, because I think there's a lot of I don't think it's been clearly laid out, at least for lay people, on who the Sahaba were. Because I early on
Yeah, there's a big issue with that. There's a sectarian thing has taken that over.
Because from what I understand now is that they all had differing opinions, you know, about, I mean, and you can kind of even see it in the tafsir exegesis of the Quran, the way that some scholars lay it out. They'll bring numerous opinions from Sahaba or Tabi'in. Sometimes they differ from each other. And when you look into it, the Sahaba did have differing opinions on the interpretation of certain Quranic verses, certain theological points and stuff like that. And instead of looking at that as a, you know, that's not a slight or anything on the deen, but almost like a blessing, having that diversity, even amongst the people who were there to witness the thing happen.
No, as in 100%, man. With the Sahaba, the general thing is about respect, and we need to also read into their lives, man. Read their biographies, bro. Like, don't let the dogma overshadow, because, bro, they sacrificed their lives, their wealth, everything for this deen. And then the early Muhajirin Ansar, they put in work, bro. There's a reason why there's praise in the Quran for them as well. Like, and you know, whether a Shia is skeptical of some reports that's attributed in Sunni sources, what every single report about the Sahaba is fabricated? Every single one?
Yeah.
Come on, man. You think the Prophet never praised the Sahaba in his life? Come on, bro. It's natural. These ways, people that supported the religion. So we need to be fair on these issues. Now, there's one thing that I wanted to mention was I've shared a report right now, Zaryab, and I want to kind of conclude with this report, because this report, Zaryab, is a shockwave. It's a shockwave report that I found. Zaryab.
Okay, yeah, I was just checking it.
Go to your WhatsApp.
Mm.
Can you read that properly? Zaryab.
No, the first one looks Urdu. Looks like Urdu to me.
Yeah, and is it in Arabic underneath it?
Oh, okay. What's that?
So the top part might be Urdu and the bottom part might be Arabic.
Yeah, it's a narration. Okay. What about it? Go ahead. Okay. You go explain it.
Yeah, I want you to read that. If it's in Arabic. While Zaryab does that, just a quick point.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Yeah. أخبرنا الفضل بن. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, I want you to read it, Zaryab, because your Arabic's better.
I can't right now, innit? So just go ahead.
Say no more. Okay, so this report that I'm looking at, essentially, this is a report. I want to do justice to it and kind of break it down. But essentially, this is a report from Tabaqat ibn Sa'd, and in the report, Imam Baqir alayhi salam, is asked basically about his opinion, and I'm summarizing the narration now. He's basically asked about his opinion on Aisha. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
He's asked his opinion on basically al-Mu'mineen Aisha, and when he's asked his opinion on her, he basically says that I pray to Allah to forgive her. I pray for her, like for her forgiveness. And then do you know what proof he uses to do that?
What's that?
He says that because she herself used to do, she used to say, "Oh, I wish that I was a tree. I wish that I was a stone." Meaning, she would say, "I wish that I never had accounting to Allah." Obviously, based on the action she had done at Jamal. Imam Bakr uses this in the narration to basically say, I ask forgiveness for Al-Mu'min Aisha. That's
I wish I was a tree. It says, yeah. Okay.
And Zaryab, what is that? That's early Tashayyuh. That's early Tashayyuh, bro. Did you get it?
Interesting, yeah.
By this narration, Zaryab, which is from the Tabaqat ibn Sa'd, notice that what's happening here, Zaryab, is do you see Imam Bakr saying, cursing her and hating her? No. He doesn't, right?
Say that bit again.
Imam Bakr with that narration, when he's asked, do you see him saying, yeah, Lanatullah alayh, she's going hell, she's munafiqah? Does he say that?
No, not at all.
But here's the other side of the equation. Does he say she's the best of the wife guaranteed heaven?
No.
What does he say instead? I ask Allah to forgive her.
Yeah.
That's Tashayyuh.
That's clear.
That's early Tashayyuh.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to round it off.
Tawakkuf on the issue, man. It's just fairness on the issue. It's early Tashayyuh is that, man. You get it?
Yeah.
And that's just the narration I kind of wanted to end with on the issue, so that you can see the more balanced kind of view that's attributed. I know every kind of 12ers have their own sets, Sunnis have their own sets, Zaydis, whatever. But my point is that this is just the conclusion that I've come to. The last point I just wanted to highlight was that, do you know how I knew that reference of Imam Ali saying that about the Khawarij was true? Just to quickly clarify, do you know how I knew that Imam Ali 100% said that about the Khawarij?
How was that? Oh.
Watch this. So that same narration, it also, albeit with the sanad having some kalam on it, it actually comes in 12 sources as well, where Imam Ali's asked and he talks about Imam Ali's battles and he answers in the same way. So it comes in a similar kind of sigha in 12 sources. However, it comes in a third narration as well in 12 sources, where apparently it's narrated that Imam Zain al-Abidin is asked about this, that, oh, but your grandfather, Imam Ali, said this about the Khawarij. And Imam Zain al-Abidin that's attributed to him in 12 sources, again, with the sanad being not sahih, but regardless, is that Imam Zain al-Abidin basically says that Imam Ali was doing Tawriyah. When he said this, he basically didn't mean it, and basically he meant it in a different way. So when he said they are our brothers who rebelled against us, because that's how the narration comes in 12 sources, Imam Zain al-Abidin basically says that, oh, what he meant was like the brothers of the nations of Ad and Hud.
You're gonna have to explain that a bit more.
Yeah. I'm gonna explain that for you, because that is you're gonna find that really interesting. Here we go. And I'll just quickly do that. Where's the? Okay. So the narration that comes. So you know about, obviously he's asked about it. He says that they're not munafiqs, they're not mushriks. True.
Yeah, we've heard that. Yeah.
So it comes in similar form in Qurb al-Isnad, narrated from Imam Sadiq, that says Ali never used to. Imam Sadiq says, apparently from his father, Imam Bakr, albeit kalam on the sanad, but I'm still highlighting that it's contextual evidence, that Imam Ali never used to ascribe any of his enemies to shirk or hypocrisy. He never used to say that he never used to say that they had shirk or nifaq. Rather, he used to say they are our brothers who rebelled against us. So you now have a contextual evidence in both Sunni and 12 sources. True?
Yeah.
Now watch this. Then obviously this is a problem in the theology. So then you had narrations that basically state, and it comes in in Tafsir Ayashi, which is a 12 tafsir, it mentions that basically Imam Zain al-Abidin's asked, like, but your grandfather said that the people of Nahrawan are Muslim, like they're not kuffar, they're not mushrikeen or munafiqs. What do you say about this? And Imam Zain al-Abidin apparently said, have you not read Allah's book where he said that in the Quran, if you go to Surah 7, Ayah 65, and it says, and to Ad we sent their brother Hud, and they are like them. Allah saved Hud and those with him and destroyed Ad. So what is Allah saying here basically? He's saying that basically he's calling Ad and he's calling Hud the brother of Ad. True?
Mm.
But if you look at this, the nation of Ad were not Muslims. So basically it's like Toria, you know, like wordplay, where Imam Ali said this, even though he said the word brothers or he said this, he didn't really mean they're Muslim, he meant kafir. Just the way Allah did it. You get it?
Yeah,
So
I see.
it's a form of basically clever takeo. So basically, Imam Ali is doing Toria and takeo.
But that you don't. Wow. Okay.
So as soon as I read that, what that made me realize is that you've had to make this to revamp the theology, because the theology is going against Imam Ali is going against you on the issue. So what do you do?
Flip it.
Did you get it? And,
I see where you're going.
And that's what confirmed for me that the fact that someone had to make this up, it means Imam Ali did say it. Did you get it?
You know, and then it's almost like it's that's in interpretation, but then who's to say it's more valid than saying seeing it your way, just taking it literally, you know?
No, because to see it the way of Imam Ali is doing Torah, you need to, if that's your mindset and your theology, then bro, after that, like anything's possible, innit? You can say anything and say black means green means red, right?
Yeah.
Welcome,
so I guess
welcome to no man's land, innit? After that, welcome, innit? Welcome. Enjoy.
Yeah, you can just interpret everything that somebody says. So yeah, it would make more sense to take it literally, the way they, unless you have further evidence.
The question he's asked is a direct question. Listen, the person who made this report up into other sources, shall I tell you how he gets caught out? Because Imam Ali's asked in the Musannaf, Imam Ali's asked a direct question. Do you know what that direct question is? Are they munafiqs? He says no. Are they mushrikeen? He says no. So therefore, you can't now play Toria or Taqiyya because he's asked direct questions and he says no. Did you get it?
Yeah.
So if someone's not a mushrik and he's not a munafiq, what is he?
Muslim.
There you go. There you go, bro. You get it?
You know, now I definitely wonder about that, but I don't want to take it to another direction. Because that is interesting. You know, you're not a mushrik. You're not a munafiq. You're not a mushrik. What are you? You know, can that be applied? But never mind. But no, then I'm thinking about something in my own.
Oh, I know. You're talking about the common. You're going into that theology. I know where you're going. I know where you're going with it. It's cool.
Okay.
The main apparent is that the point is that clearly he just saw them as people who he saw them as rebels. That's it. Innit? Do you get it?
Yeah. No. Yeah. And
so yeah, man. I hope that we managed to cover as much as well. We kind of hour 40, not too bad. But yeah, man, went through a lot of things. But like I say in the end again. I thank obviously you brothers for letting me on. Any success is from Allah. Any mistakes that I've made, or if I said anything in an emotional state, that I said something excessive in emotions, Allah forgive me for it and forgive me from our hearts and all of us. But as far as anything that is true and success, that's from Allah, man. Simple as that.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And Raza, thank you for coming on in order to do a part 2. I'm grateful that you came on for part 1.
You're the original terror, man. Your channel's got exclusive rights, man.
Yeah,
right. So hopefully
we appreciate you putting this on, Terror, and hosting it. And yeah, appreciate your time, Raza.
And I'm definitely appreciative of Ziryab and always thinking about me when having anybody on, man. Raza hasn't been the only one you've thought of me about, and so man, I'm always thankful. Hopefully, man, I can bring something to your channel in the future, man, when you get that back started, and Raza, likewise for you.
Inshallah, man. I'm gonna come on more as well, man. We'll do more shows as well, man. We'll do more. We'll try and keep it something regular. Do you get it?
Yeah, please, man, because that's actually
Something regular is
what
good. Something regular is good, man. Like at least maybe I don't know, 1 a month or something. We should do something.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
definitely.
know, I love to discuss the early period of and development of the Shia and the term Tashayyu and what it means in itself, and like the different groups and even I'm sure we've had discussions off of camera off this where we've discussed how it was at a particular point in time where Twelverism as a particular form of Tashayyu became the dominant form. It wasn't always that way. And it's interesting. So different periods and stages, and what gets added in terms of rituals,
Yeah,
like
because I want
other
to know about the
rituals and stuff.
Casanite or the Casania.
Okay. Yeah.
I found them to be a very interesting early Shia group that are now extinct, and I wonder why they didn't. Why we don't see them now, or what had happened to them, and stuff like that. So
I hear you, brothers, man. But yeah, I hope we were able to discuss. It was a lot of information, but we managed to pack a lot of it in. And alhamdulillah, man. I hope all the points were there. Inshallah, we can always do more shows and stuff. But yeah, man. Thank you, brothers, man, for having me on, man. Alhamdulillah, we had a good session.
Oh yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
Thank
mashallah. Khair.
Thank you. All right, so I guess we're gonna end right here. I would like to thank everybody for viewing. Hopefully, yeah, we can reconvene on a later date and talk about other topics because, yeah, we touched on a lot of different things, and I hope to expound further on them. Just not kind of leave it surface level, but actually dig deep because I find them to be beneficial, and it does something for me. I don't know, man. I don't want to say it's like something spiritual, but I don't know. I feel like I come closer or grow in Deen by going over these things. Kind of,
100. 100, man. 100.
All right, y'all, man. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'm about to get out of here. I've been battling a cold. Everybody in my household is sick, and
You shifa, man. I'll give you and your family shifa, bro.
yeah. We're getting over it. But it's one of those things when my oldest daughter got sick, and then my youngest, then my wife, and then
that vicious cycle, man.
Yeah, domino effect. So we've just been trying to maintain, man. But yeah, man, I hope to get with you guys. Raza, I don't have your number or anything. If you don't mind, Ziyad.
Get your Zurab, give him my number, inshallah.
Yeah, man.
Cool. All right.
Now that I'm in the UK, I like to build up more contacts. Because we're all not that far from each other.
Are you in the UK now?
Yeah, I'm in Manchester.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, I think a lot of people with the accent think I'm in the States or something.
Yeah. I thought you're from the Bronx or something, bro.
No, I'm from California.
There you go. Oh, there you go. Amazing. Are you in UK, man? We got to link up.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm in London sometimes. I've been, in Birmingham as well. Again, the UK isn't that big. California is a big state, and I think California might be a bigger state than the country of England. So
yeah, it probably is, bro. It probably is, bro.
yeah, so it's nothing to drive up and down in England, man. And I really do hope to get with you guys in real time one day because you guys do seem very cool. And Ziria, I've been very supportive of my channel.
Of course,
from the jump. I think from my first live stream, Ziria was in the
Rob clocks. He clocks the real ones quickly. He clocks it.
Man.
Yeah. I got a nut for that.
as soon as he clocks a bit of this guy's critical, he's like, brother, all right, you can join.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I'm happy that you bro. And I hope these relationships develop too.
Inshallah, man. You like my brothers, man.
God willing.
Yeah, inshallah, definitely.
All right, y'all, man. I'm gonna bounce out, man. Thanks for coming on. And if you guys have any other ideas of what you want to talk about, feel free to use my channel as a platform.
Inshallah, 100%.
Yeah, appreciate it, Tehran, man. And assalamu alaikum to both of you. Yeah, we'll speak soon, reconvene very soon.
Yeah, God willing. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Peace.